Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our humble abode here. I guess we need a bigger room, being this big crowd. I'd like to welcome the friends and family from St. Lawrence Academy, as well as South Grenville High School. We have Seaway Optimist Club here. We have the Train and Model Railway Show gentleman clan here, reporter, past council members. I know he's in here. Where's he hiding? Craig?
He's over here at the back.
Craig? And then President of the Chamber of Commerce. If I missed anyone, oh, and I also have your worship, Mayor John Beddoes from Gananoque. So welcome, everyone. And Councillor McConnell online? Yeah.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, good. Welcome. Did I miss anyone, Stuart? Oh, Bonnie, sorry. Bonnie, you're hiding behind Mrs. Back.
Why am I so quiet?
You're so tall.
Just say the.
And the fire department, are they here? Or they will be here? Or Kevin Spencer's here on behalf of them. All right. So we're going to call the meeting to order. The time is 6:01 p.m. Next item is approval of the agenda. The motion reads that the agenda for the council meeting on Monday, May 6, 2024 be approved as presented. Can I have a mover and seconder? Thank you, Councillor Lockett. Councillor Young, all in favor? Great, thank you. Any declarations of interest tonight? Seeing none, we're going to move right along. So we have three presentations today. First, we're going to start with the Model Train and Toy Show. Mr. Stuart Reed, Ron Lipset, and Steve Sansoni. Where's the podium? Podium's right there. You get to chat right there. Go ahead, sir.
I wanted to.
I know your favorite.
I didn't do it. Come on, girls, get up here.
So just as a preview for everyone, Stuart and his friends here hosted the Model Train and Railway Show about 3 weeks ago.
Yep.
Full house all day, just a raving success. So Stuart's here to tell us a bit more and perhaps provide a check.
A check.
You got my account?
Yeah. What can I say? We had, I'd say over 1,100 people. That doesn't count kids. What did we do? No, 5120 for the day. And then we had money in the bank from vendor tables. So it was a very profitable show. It was a good show. There was lots of different layouts, lots of displays. And we're going to do it again. Same place, same time, one day. We'll see. The town was fantastic. Parking could have been better, but there's nothing we can really do about that. I had people tell me they were parking 5 blocks away.
It's a good sign.
That's good.
Other than that, there's not much else to say. It was a big success. We heard from all the vendors almost, and the display people, they all come back. So next year, we're going to start planning end of the month. I'd like to try and get a few different things this time. But considering there hasn't been a show down this way in a long time, it can only get better. That's it.
Okay.
Well done.
Well, you want to get Bonnie up here and
Yeah, I think you should.
Ray says I'm not here tonight.
you're here.
Here's the ghost phone.
As hot in here as it me.
As if I haven't heard that one before. Okay. Oh my goodness.
Okay?
Well, the train definitely did not go off the track. This is, first of all, it was an honor, an absolute honor to be part of this wonderful event. The food bank, sadly, there's a large 46% increase of people accessing and knocking at our door that never would have thought of having to. So when people in this community dig, they dig deep into their pockets. And what a unique, fun event, and definitely looking forward to that next year and supporting it any way that we can, of course. Thank you so much. The amount is
$5,000.
$5. I love seeing stuff like this for the food bank, but also the economy, like having people come to Prescott because we rock, we know that. Sorry, Augusta and ours were Cardinal. You know, people are coming in, if they're parking 5 blocks away, they're coming in, they're going to our restaurants, they're going.
Somebody must have got some business on this.
So, I mean, I think that's a proud moment too.
Yeah.
But the food bank will put this to good use, and we'd like to thank you so much, and invite me back anytime, you take the candy, but I'll take money. Thank you so much.
Stuart, we look forward to the same presentation next year. Book you.
When?
May the 4th.
I'm sorry.
I already told them, April 12th,
Thank you, Sandy.
Okay.
Sure.
Oh, that's great. That's gonna be a tough one to top there, Christine.
Yeah.
So we have Christine Sloan here with 4 or 5 students. We get this right. Macy Prosser. Just wave so we know who we are. Macy Prosser, Tegan Laverne, Chloe Smithers, and Gabriel Perry. Gabrielle, oh, sorry. And you're gonna talk about the Student Leadership Conference?
Yeah.
Perfect.
So we once again went to the Ontario Student Leadership Conference. We took 20 students from South Grenville. This was my 10th year, so it was extra special, and both my children went, which was even more special. But I had such an amazing group of kids, and I don't want to talk anymore because I talk all the time. So I'm going to let them tell you, and then we have a little sneak peek at what we went through. So I'm going to move over and hear that. Here's the top here. Yeah.
I'd like to start off by saying that from a very young age, anxiety is always something I've struggled with. When I first heard of OSLC, it just seemed too good to be true. I had family and friends convince me for days, weeks, almost the whole time leading up that it was an amazing opportunity and one I couldn't miss. It took a lot of effort, but eventually I was pushed out of my comfort zone and I decided to go. There was a long bus ride and a long time of making sure that everything was organized, but when we settled into our beautiful hotel rooms, we soaked everything in. After introduction, a lot of dancing and singing, it was time to meet the other kids. From what started as awkward murmurs and small groups quickly turned into a beautiful circle of leaders, amazing ideas, and new friends. This opportunity was one I'm so glad I didn't miss out on. I can't stress enough how much of an amazing time I had. As someone with social anxiety, my first instinct is always to go home. But OSLC showed me that social interaction isn't always stressful and can create beautiful things. So I, Chloe Smithers, would like to speak for myself and all of OSLC when I thank you for your generous donation and continued help. None of this would be possible without you. I'd like to assure you that this trip wasn't for nothing, if not for the amazing eye-opening opportunities and for the ideas that were made along the way. We hope to continue to bring new ideas to the table and keep sending bright kids with amazing futures on their way to success. Thank you, Prescott, on behalf of all of us.
Good job.
As a student who went to OSLC, I felt like the energy was outstanding at this conference. It was a very upbeat, fun, energetic environment. I loved walking into the conferences, jumping and dancing and singing along to the music. It was a very fun experience. When walking into any part of the building, I felt welcome and felt a sense of belonging. This trip was a great experience and showed me what great energy is and how to get a crowd upbeat, even if you don't know anyone around you.
I've had many opportunities throughout my time at school, but I don't think I will ever experience anything similar to OSLC. During the few days we went to Niagara Falls, I made so many amazing memories, made some new friends, and learned so many new things that I can bring back to my school and to teach to other people. The group that also attended made many memories, whether it was with their friends or just all of us in general as a group. This was an opportunity that I never thought I'd have the chance to do, but the townships have changed that for the students at South Grenville. I hope that the things I learned and the things other students learn in the future will bring new things for other opportunities that students may want to join in on. It was a lot of work behind a plan, fundraise, getting ourselves organized, but in the end, it was absolutely worth it to be able to attend. And I would like to say thank you.
Oh, yeah, social anxiety, which. Great.
If it really quick here, was that the video work? No, but I'm gonna try something else. Okay.
No, you can just reenact it.
Everybody knows Sweet Caroline.
Oh, yeah. Couple employees,
Oh.
you know.
Volume's not working.
On behalf of the 20 students that you helped sponsor, we thank you. We're excited and we're already planning for next year. We have 20 students lined up and they are also part of our new Link crew at South Grenville, which is basically 20 leaders in grade 11, 12 who will be guiding our grade 9s or grade 8s into grade 9. And they have all jumped on board to help with OSLC. So yeah, we look forward to another year. So thank you again.
All right, that's great. Thank you, Christine. Next up, we have Kevin Spencer from the Prescott Fire Department, who's going to help out with emergency preparedness week. We're going to talk about the home emergency kits.
You sure? What's it?
Well, thank you.
So I'd like to start this, but there won't be any jumping or dancing. Congratulations, folks. That's awesome to have leadership that young and building those programs at a young age. So I'd like to welcome everybody here tonight to Emergency Preparedness Week in Ontario. So as a province, every year, the first week in May is deemed Emergency Preparedness Week. And we're in the midst of it right now. I am here on behalf of Tracy Day, our Community Emergency Management Coordinator. She unfortunately couldn't make it tonight because of a last minute situation, but that's why we have alternates, right? In emergency management, we have people that we can back up and have support each other. So that's what being prepared is all about. The theme this year for the province is Plan for Every Season. So although we always have Emergency Preparedness Week in May, we always think about summertime things because that's what's coming up. We don't necessarily always think about the fall and winter weather and power loss and things like that. So we want to make sure this year we understand a pretty diverse weather-wise location. So anything can happen at any time and we need to be prepared for it. The emphasis this year, especially municipally, is based on personal preparedness. So ensuring you have your own preparedness kit. So we've got some examples of things out here. to build your own kit. Every kit is going to be specific to you or your family. Things like pet food or medications or cash or whatever the case may be. You need to have those types of things on hand to ensure that that you're going to be ready, whatever you need to do to be able to take care of yourself for 72 hours. The reason 72 hours is the number that we use in our kits is because that's the amount of time that the general public is expected to be able to take care of themselves in an emergency. So we want to make sure, as the municipalities are gearing up and getting things ready to oversee everything, the folks that live in those communities, the residents, need to be able to ensure that they're taking care of themselves until we get things set up so we can move forward. So that's really the key for a 72-hour kit. So I'm making sure you have enough water on hand, enough food on hand, again, medications and things like that. So it's really important that we just take some time to think about what do we need, how do we need it, where are we going to store it, what types of things are we going to make sure we have. All those are key components of ensuring you're ready. And then making sure you keep it fresh, making sure that you have those foodstuffs and the water and all that fresh and available to you. So you just cycle through every 6 months to make sure that it's available when you need it. Because we can't plan, stuff happens, right? So we need to be prepared for it. As I said earlier, we put together a bit of a kit here. This kit is an idea of some of the things that we need to have. So it's not just food or medications. It's also entertainment. It's also what we need from a lifestyle perspective. Making sure we have grooming products and things like that we can share and make it portable. Make sure we know how to use it and that we have it available when we need it. One of the other components of having these kits available and being able to start using these on a moment's notice is also making sure we know where our loved ones are. So whenever we have an event where we have power loss or we may not all be together at once, we have that ability to be able to communicate with each other, or we have a location that we know we can go, either locally or depending on how big the event or the emergency is, maybe have it a couple hours away or a few hours away. My personal example, we live in the area where my wife and I are always around the area. My stepdaughter lives in Toronto, my daughter lives in Cornwall, and my mother-in-law lives in Barrie. So where do we go in an emergency to make sure everyone's going to be okay, and how do we communicate effectively? So those are some of those things that we talk about that depending on where we have to be, we can get ourselves there. So it might take some time, right? So those are all just components that we need to think about from emergency preparedness. But the big thing is, don't forget who you have at home, right? Family members, pets, all those pieces that we don't sometimes think about in an emergency that you need to look at. One thing that Tracy made sure I mentioned to everybody is on Thursday night, the three municipalities of Eversburg, Cardinal, Augusta, and the town of Prescott will be getting together at the fire hall in Prescott from 6 to 8 p.m. And it's just an open house or a forum. So people understand what our emergency programs look like. So if you're out and about, you're available to attend. It'll be there on Thursday night to be able to ask questions or get an understanding of what our program's about. There will be a draw for some personal emergency kits. So if you do stop by, make sure you fill out a ballot. The ballot will be there to win. And what else was I supposed to say? Just take the time this week or this month or at some point in time, just think about what would happen if, right? There's been lots of occasions where we've had traffic tie-ups in downtown. There's been lots of opportunity where we lost power for a little bit. So those are the kinds of things that we need to take into consideration and talk it over with your family and make sure it's a conversation that what happens if, right? And you have an idea of what needs to be done. So thank you very much for the time. Thank you very much for the other presentations. I appreciate it. And any questions? Okay. It's going quick. Thank you very much for the time. Have a good evening.
Thank Kevin for filling in the last moment there for Tracy.
Take that kid home.
Presents well, right?
All right, next up, we have delegations. We have one delegation tonight, obviously, from St. Lawrence Academy. We have a student-led tree planting project with Eric Henry. I see Eric there. Sarah Leah Ziegler, Jasmine Bat, and Sloan Fournier. Sloan's not here? Okay. The floor is yours.
Good evening, Council. Thank you for allowing us to speak today. I represent the grade 7A class from St. Lawrence Academy, and we are here to present our proposal to plant 14 tree saplings along the Heritage River Trail. This environmental initiative came from attending the Climate Action Youth Forum this past fall, where we received a $500 grant, which is to be used towards a community project that promotes environmental sustainability. We have chosen this project for the grant because our school uses the Heritage River Trail for activities in science and for our annual cross-country meet. We thought about how much of a significant and positive change planting trees can make in our community. In science, we have been studying the effects of deforestation, the impacts of invasive species on ecosystems, and primary and secondary succession. The open fields of the waterfront, although well taken care of, do not reflect the natural environment, and we are hoping by planting these trees that we can help support the natural succession of the ecosystem and new habitats. We have researched native tree species and compared this list to the approved trees for parks in the town of Prescott. We also considered which tree species were available and in our budget range. Another factor was the growth rate of each species and how much space it would require. The species that we'd like to plant are 4 burro, 4 sugar maple, 2 red maple, and 4 eastern white-seeded. Our class completed a site walk 2 weeks ago to plan where we'd be planting the trees. When deciding where to plant the trees, we were aware of how the roots would grow and chose locations that were back from the paved paths. We also were conscious of when the trees grew taller, that they might block the view of the river for the houses. Because of this, we chose the following locations that you can see here on this map.
So we have 4 main areas we would like to plant the trees. Our first spot we would like to have is right by, there's a bench, and we thought that there could be a tree here because it would be nice for shade. And we'd also like, because, where is it? Yeah, so we have some space over here where we have all the dead bushes, and we would like to add some trees there and to make it more alive. We have a couple points of where we want it. We also want some up beside the street, but not in front of the houses because we don't want to cover their view too much of the water. So we wanted to do it a little bit more to the right so that it wouldn't be covering anything and would still have some trees. So we have a couple of different options.
On May 16th, we would like to bring our school down to the waterfront to complete this planting initiative. In addition, we'd also pick up and dispose of any garbage. We feel like this date would work well with the current community cleanup happening in Prescott. In conclusion, we would like your approval on our proposal and on our proposed environmental action project and welcome any questions that you may have at this time. Thank you.
These are tough acts to follow.
That's a great initiative. I'm just going to open up the floor for questions. Any questions from council?
I'm just like,
Sure.
it's dear to my heart because I've moved to Prescott years ago and every summer I hear chainsaws just chopping down trees. So this is a great initiative, I think. Way to go.
Thank you.
Councilor Kirkby?
Just to echo Councillor Campbell's comments, I think it's a great initiative. It's one that I actually sent to the town, submitted that we could engage in some youth to take on planting some trees, some native trees down there. And just happens to be that along comes St. Lawrence Academy. So it's great. And there's a lot of diverse animals down there. There's salamanders. I don't know if you've ever seen them down there, but I have. And different kinds of field mice and rodents and birds and hummingbirds. So it'd be great to see some of that brought back, some of the trees down there. So great job.
So seeing no other questions, just to let you know that we have to contact the federal government because that's their property. So let us do that first and we will we'll get back to you because our hands are tied on that.
Hopefully
Okay.
before the 16th.
Hopefully, I see the 16th was your date you gave us, so we will work on that ASAP.
I think sending these pictures in will help.
Right?
Sending these pictures in will help.
It's not the kids when they won't turn.
That's right.
It is the federal government. But thank you for coming, guys.
Thank you.
Well, that's it for our presentations and delegations tonight. Now the fun part of it. That was a fun part of the meeting.
Did you transfer?
Hmm?
What does that mean?
No, I'm next.
Oh,
Thank you.
That's so optimistic.
thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Linda.
Thanks.
Thanks. Sit down. All right, 6.1 is approval of council minutes. The motion reads that council minutes dated April 15th, 2024 be accepted as presented. Can I mover and seconder? Ms. Campbell, Ms. Kirkby. Any discussion on the minutes? Well, seeing none, I'm going to call the question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Is Lee still there? Is he still?
Anyways, Lee, will you let us know if you're not in favor?
Yes,
And then-
I will.
And then I'll know you're, okay. Assume you are unless we hear from you. Item 7 is communications and petitions. There are no items this evening. Item 8 is consent reports. We have the information package. Is there anything anyone would like to see pulled out from the information package? Starting here, Councillor Kirkby.
If I may just make note of one of the items in there.
Sure.
Yeah. So it's just the Seaway Optimist Club presents Forever Young, the adult prom. It's a DJ dance cash bar, Saturday, May 18th, and it's happening at the Leo Boyden Community Center. I've seen this online and it looks like a lot of fun. So we'll see you there.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up there.
Sorry.
Okay.
What?
Oh, you got a post?
We have nothing to do.
Okay.
We have your back. Will you come to phone?
When is it?
My goodness, it's the 18th.
That's a long week.
Oh, no.
That's awesome.
That's great.
Proposal before.
I've never done one before.
We would like to invite everybody, but we weren't sure about crashing and doing proposals for everybody was exactly on the agenda.
Right.
We'd love to have everybody.
Proposal.
And we apologize because we thought we were on. the-
Yeah, we had asked.
Yeah, no,
It has to be, and we did not.
well, I'm glad Councillor Kirkby got to you because I would have got to you too.
I apologize.
That's not, no worries. That's good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Councillor Campbell?
To pull the Municipality of West Perth Conservation Authorities Act.
Okay. Anything else? All right, so the recommended motion reads that all items listed under consent report section of the agenda, other than that one, we'll take that one out. be accepted as presented. Can I have a mover and seconder? Moved by Councillor Kirkby, seconded by Councillor Young. All in favor? Carried, thank you. No committee reports this evening. Number 10 is mayor's reports. So since our last meeting, we had a April 17th was a mayor's breakfast that was put on by the Chamber of Commerce in Brockville. They had it at the Merck Hall. There was myself, Mayor Beddoes, Mayor Burrow, Mayor Wren, Mayor Shaver, and Mayor Deschamps. And we kind of, we had like a town hall type meeting, you know, so fireside chat, really talking about the economy and everything that was going on. They were hoping to have a big presentation that day, but that's been on hold. So, but it was very good. And it's something that I think for small communities, it's really, really good to have, to just keeping the public informed. I mean, that's one of the common requests that we get when we're campaigning or even just on the street. People don't know what's going on. This kind of gives them a heads up. So I think that we're going to try and rotate that around and maybe do a few more like every quarter. There was a battle of the Seaway between, I think, Seaway High School and our high school hockey. I think you were reffing that, weren't you?
I was refereeing.
Good job, Puck, you reffed that. That's good. Who won that? Leave.
South Grenville, both
very
games.
good, very good. A bunch of us attended Tim's Fish and Chips 30th anniversary. Last weekend was the art show at the Legion. That was very well attended. This Friday, we had Minister Cho visited Walker House, which was very well attended. Super nice man. He's a Minister of Seniors and Accessibility, 87 years old. Brings his saxophone to Walker House and plays Happy Birthday to
Steve Clark.
Thank you, Steve Clark's mom. I said, Minister Cho, when did you learn to play the sax? A month ago. Like a month ago. Holy moly. So, I mean, it was very good. I think he left our place and then went and played pickleball in Brockville. 87.
Yeah.
So it was quite inspiring, really. Earlier that day, I helped Augusta out with a Zoom call to MTO, where they're trying to get, if that's public knowledge? Well, skip that. I think it's public knowledge, but they're just trying to get an interchange off the highway. So that would be good. We had the big Fort Town night run on Saturday. That was very well attended. I got there early, saw the setup, saw their medals. Very nice medals, great t-shirts. From all reports, it was well attended. I'm sure we'll have them here on a delegation soon. So that's all I have. I'm going to go around the table. We'll start with Councillor Young.
Thank you. I went to the art show as well, and I followed up with them, and they said it was a huge success, and they'll be back next year. Again, so that was really good. The other thing I wanted to mention, it's Economic Development Week from May 6th to May 10th. So I wanted to recognize the great job that our Economic Development Department does at Town Hall, and helping Prescott continue to be one of the most inviting communities around. And that's all for me.
Thank you, Councillor Young. Councillor McConnell?
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. We've had two meetings that I've attended since we last met. The Heritage Committee was the first one. And we decided to take a new tact on the houses that were the properties rather that we're looking at to decide whether we're going to recommend to council to list them or designate them. And we will be meeting again later this month, but we're going to decide on their fate, or at least the fate that we're going to recommend to council as we go along now, rather than waiting till the end. So council will be having some recommendations coming forth, regular intervals rather than just at the end of the year. excuse me, as far as the cemetery board goes, we have had three burials, I believe. We had another one this morning. Two of them were urns. One of them was a casket burial, and I believe they went fairly smoothly. I attended one of those. The maintenance crew has been working in the cemetery doing a cleanup for the spring. I noticed the branches are disappearing off the ground. And if they haven't already started, they will be starting to cut grass, and they're very shortly. I asked if one of our new members could volunteer some time for some maintenance out there, and I'm happy to report that the last time I was out, the bushes right in front of the building have been trimmed, so that's a good thing. Anyway, maintenance will continue out there, and I guess that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McConnell. Councillor Lockett.
Mayor Shankar, I attended some of the same things that Mayor Shankar has already spoken to, but already also attended two meetings of St. Lawrence Lodge. One was a joint meeting with, attended with Matthew, and Matthew will speak to it later. Gananoque, Brockville, and ourselves to address some issues, and Matthew will get to that. And the following day, we just had a regular board meeting, which was very short since we talked about everything the day before. So it was a very short meeting, and I was the only one there. Everybody else was on Zoom, so made it much shorter, I guess. So that's all for me.
Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Kirkby.
Yes, so a couple of things to note. The one big one has been the spring cleanup happening. Town staff, they went out around the Prescott, around Canadian Tire, the hotel, O'Reilly's, stuff like that, cleaned up around there. South Granville Minor Hockey this weekend cleaned up around the ACC. Just a couple notes, the tulips down at the water look great. And I'm really not a tulip guy, but I rolled into the parking lot the other day and I was shocked to see how nice they look, and wow. So great job there. Composting and stuff was picked up. I watched the town staff pick up the bags in the rain. Never a nice day to have to do that when it's raining with the paper bags, but the feedback was it's much better in the paper bags because the plastic doesn't get mixed like they used to have. Porta potties are down at the pop-ups. I witnessed our economic development officer setting flags out to get ready for the new sheds down there on a Saturday. Seems like she works a lot of Saturdays, which is always great. Water tank is scheduled to be raised for June 10th. The week of June 10th. Sorry, was I allowed to share that? So that's going to be a big event. There's been a lot of people that have asked, right?
Yes.
I've had a lot of people ask, and I actually had a school class kind of ask about it. So it might be something neat. Not sure if the contractor, how they would feel about that, but I think, it's one of them one in a lifetime things kind of that you might see in town. And porta potties are down there, and the splash pad washrooms are open, and the splash pad will be opened for the May long weekend with some renovations currently happening to the pool house washrooms.
Okay. Back to you.
So we'll be doing time-lapse camera, a couple of other things like that, so to capture the raising of the bowl in the tower. That being said, the contractor noted it goes 6 inches at a time. And it will take hours. So, it's not something that will be, it's 6 inches at a time.
It's not like the eclipse.
Over 6 hours. So if you're going to be there, it's going to be a process.
Sure, some of the students would love that. We'll be there for 9 and we'll be done at 3.
So, but yeah, once we get closer to the date, we'll kind of put that on social media, that sort of thing. We'll cordon off an area of the parking lot just to make sure that people are safe and from a safe viewing distance. But yeah, we'll set up some time-lapse cameras, things like that, so that you get to see that progression throughout the day.
Awesome. Thank you.
That's very good.
Yeah.
Councillor Campbell.
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. I attended the Good Roads Conference in Toronto, April 21st and 22nd. Really interesting topics, especially for me, because I'm always about safe cities and resilient cities. And so Olivia Chow, the mayor of Toronto, talked about their safer civic streets. They've instigated pedestrian head start signals. So the pedestrians get to go first and then the light turns green for the cars. Jeff Speck was the keynote speaker. He has written books about walkable cities, resilient cities, and his key point was why have the one main street in your town be the one that moves traffic unimpeded through it? The most effective way to slow traffic down is to remove the signals and add four-way stop signs. So just in regards to our town, if we had, I believe, some more stops, then people would be looking around, seeing that there are stores that they might want to go into, rather than we've just got this thoroughfare just straight through town. So anyway, it was interesting to hear this man talk about that. There was a presentation by the Canadian Centre for Economic Analysis. They have been doing AI and digital twinning since 2005. So it gives you an idea. You give them their data. They come up with a plan in terms of housing, affordability, libraries, medical, anything like that to show where you could progress to rather than us just guessing what we're supposed to be doing. I attended a funding infrastructure session, also a session entitled Pedaling Towards Sustainable Communities, Promoting Cycling. And I have given this report into your packages, so please read it if you could. And thank you very much for the opportunity to actively participate. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Campbell. Councillor Burton.
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. The library is having spring tea. That's going to be May 14th from 1 to 3, and the theme this year is lavender. Last year we had approximately 60 people. They are expecting another 60 people this year. We're finishing up in the library some painting and refreshing, and we've ordered new tables and chairs. The library has been very, very busy with different activities. March break was very busy, and lots of things going on at the library, so check it out. Thank you.
That's great. I'll put that in my calendar.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much, everyone. So moving on, we have a few staff reports tonight. 4 of them. So the first one is staff report 31-2024, the Elaine Chartrand Community Center summer work. Item 12.1 is that this report will be from our treasurer and CAO, Matthew Armstrong. I'm just going to read the recommendations. That council directs staff to proceed with the work outlined in staff report 31-2024. Can I have a mover and seconder for discussion? Councillor Kirkby, Councillor Burton. Matthew?
Very much. So before you have the what our hopeful work plan is for this summer. So the rentals end on or about May 15th. We're also intending on closing the track at May 15th. The ice would come out the following week. That will allow us to do some fixes to the boards, putting in the ad panels, that sort of thing. At the same time, it's also very, very expensive to have ice during the summer. So those are a couple of the reasons why we would be taking it out. And then obviously it also gives us the opportunity to do those things that we need to do. So line painting on the walking track was a deficiency that wasn't completed. Door corrections, main entrance floor trim around the grading is an issue. The permanent fascia, there was a temporary fascia put on the front canopy. The permanent one had a long lead time, and so it's now available. And then there's a number of other things, including the correction of the slope in the shower entrances. So right now there is water kind of running back towards the washroom area and towards the change room out of the showers. And so it was incorrectly designed and installed. And so that slope is now going to move further out and go back towards the drain. So all of those things will be done as part of the contract and addressing the efficiencies. There are some other items that we've talked about previously in terms of improvements, and that includes shelving and additional hooks in the change room, with an estimated cost of approximately $10,000. The additional ad protection panels that I just mentioned, in the original contract, we had 20 ad panels. And then the economic development team has done a fantastic job of selling all of those other spaces on the boards. So what we did notice is that the ones that don't have the protection panels are wearing quickly. And so we contacted the board manufacturer, and for the materials, it's about 25,000. We can install them ourselves, and then those are expected to last about 10 years in terms of the panels behind. In terms of the front panels, they're expected to last more than 10 years. So that's another item. Sound system correction. So we know that usually the music sounds pretty good. Anything on the voice end is echoey, to say the least. So we're investigating several options, both technical as well as just something to absorb the sound. So we've identified a number of panels that we could install, and they're something that you can buy the material for, wrap it, and then just hang it from the ceiling. It cuts down on the bouncing of the echo. So we haven't come to that final solution yet, but we believe about $15,000 is sufficient to be able to kind of address the problem as much as we can this year, and hopefully it'll be a market improvement. Covering the spray insulation in the rooms underneath the south bleachers, we've noted that the product that was there and designed to be there was a spray-on solution. If you look at it the wrong way, it falls off. And so we've come up with a fairly inexpensive solution to just cover it and be able to use what's there. And then finally, we did have noted throughout the season that the elevator is being abused by youth, and it becomes part of the game where they're either playing tag or doing laps and utilizing the elevator. So this kind of culminated a few weeks ago when the elevator actually there was a lockout that was triggered, and the lockout that was identified is that they jumped so hard in the elevator that it triggered the lockout, and the only way to release that lockout is the technician himself. So there was an incident several years ago in Ottawa, I believe, and where that lockout was released by staff or the fire department, and unfortunately it cut somebody in two because this elevator moved after that. So after that, now the technician is the only one that can release it, and they're for every time when we call an emergency situation, it's over $1,000. So we're looking at options as to be able to lock the elevator out during certain periods, or provide those that are regular visitors with a fob or a key number that they'd be able to use that and stop the excessive uses that we've seen so far. Then so I'll kind of stop there, see if there's any questions that you can address before I can move on to the next one.
Councillor Campbell?
Through you, Mayor Schenker. Matthew, just want to clarify, so the list of deficiencies are covered by the contract, okay. And then the other things that you talked about, the municipalities going to cover, so what's the deal with the, the spray stuff, like, was that a deficiency from the contract?
A deficiency from the contractor. At the end of the day, it's a product that if we didn't have as much, it was more for dead spaces than for places that you would have people in on a regular basis. And so just probably the wrong product for the overall. So it was more of a design issue and picking the wrong product for it than actually it being a contractor deficiency.
So they would not have to pay for that.
Correct.
And then the elevator, if someone comes in, their grandson's playing hockey and they need to get up, can they go to a staff and get it?
Absolutely.
That would be the way to do it.
Yep. And so what we will do is we'll post a phone number for them to call, and that links directly to staff on site. And then they'd be able to come and use the elevator.
Okay, because you were talking about people that are regulars, but you might have.
Yeah, no,
Obviously,
absolutely.
yeah.
And so, yeah, I think, you know, during most days, it's a more mature crowd. And so we haven't had those issues. It's more when you get into evenings and weekends where we've had a substantial increase in that usage.
And were the kids sufficiently scared being in there for an hour, I hope?
Definitely.
Okay, good.
Certainly they were not the cause of it, as they explained, but when the technician came in, he said it's the only way you can trigger that, so.
All right, thanks.
Councillor Kirkby, then Councillor Lockton.
Through you, Mayor Schenker. Matthew, the spray in them rooms, what are they gonna cover it with?
So there's a couple of options that we have. One could be just sheetrock, that we could do some strapping and put sheetrock. The other option is a slightly harder plastic that would cut down on the number of joints that we would have to seal and things like that. So again, we would strap it, put the plastic covering, and go from there. So what we wanted to, so there's a couple of design options. One was if you were going to use sheetrock, doing it so that it would be at an angle. We didn't like that feature because it would cut off a massive amount of headroom. So what we're doing instead is trying to find a solution that would allow us to maintain that stepped approach, and so that it maintains the headroom as much as we can.
May I ask, is it required?
It is because above is the rink, and there's no temperature break between the two. So the ones in the change room isn't required, but because the ones underneath the stands, the other side's cold, and they need that temperature break.
So the worry is that it would be cold in them rooms, or heat from them rooms would transfer?
Both.
Okay. It seems so warm in there, or, you know what I mean? I've been in the coach's room quite a bit. It's warm in there.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess maybe, I just wondered if we could just scrape it off and call it or try it.
We would love to, but it was a requirement to have a temperature or an insulating factor there.
Okay. Thank you.
Councillor Lockton?
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Shankar. Two things, Matthew. When I was at the rink, I noticed where the players come out, there's a really small area between, and kids are, is that something on the list that we're thinking of? Okay.
It's a small cost item. So one of the reasons why it's back that far is that if anyone hits the boards, we want to make sure it didn't hit. So what we've come up with is a couple of options that will give. So we're going to put in something there, but it might be as simple as hard styrofoam that's covered. And so that way, if it's something bumps into it, it doesn't break the glass or
like I'm thinking pool noodle kind of.
Yeah, almost like that. Yeah. So just basically the hard insulation sheet and wrap it in something so it looks like, and then just want to make sure. But absolutely, that's on the list.
And the other thing is, when you're talking about the sound barriers hanging it, when I was in Smith Falls the last time, they have them. And I was asking so the ones over the goalies' nets are all hacked up. And they said because even though it's high, the kids try to shoot the puck up, and they do the damage. So if they were doing it again, they wouldn't put it there if they didn't. So just a suggestion that I don't know if you have to have them there or not, but.
So we're gonna play around with it a little bit.
Yeah.
So we're going to build them, then put them up, and then just continuing trying to
Change them,
and see how it works best. So there's a couple that we can do. One, we can put them on the walls to help reduce that. And then I noticed that theirs come down a fair ways.
Mm-hmm.
So we would like to try and keep them a little bit higher up into the rafters. And so it just makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah.
And then putting them on the outside of the netting as well as so on the trying to do it in a way that it's going to make it pretty difficult to try and hit them. So if you run them from east-west, I think is more difficult than running them
North.
to hit north south, because you're not going to be able to shoot from one net to the other and be able to hit it up. So you're going to have only 85 feet in which to try and hit it as opposed to 200.
That's all I know. Go ahead, I'm good. That's good.
Good.
Yeah.
Follow up?
Yeah, well, I was gonna ask this outside of it, but I'll ask it since we're here now. Is there any thought to raising some of the lights to make the scoreboard a little more viewable from?
Yeah, so when we have the lift in there, we'll, if we're all on, try and pull them up a few links and just see how that goes.
Thank you.
So,
A flag in the middle, a big flag.
Oh,
I heard
another
about
flag.
yeah, so I think definitely what we found is once we had this in there, it was really hard to hang anything after that point. So when we have the lift in there for a number of things, then being able to address it.
Maybe the flag in the ice
Yeah.
No, we can't step on it.
doesn't. The town?
And if there's feedback on, you know, the inlays and the ice, that sort of thing, then by all means, let us know, because we're looking to leave that, but sooner the better. But what we did is we worked with a vendor that sends them when we have them created, and then it's kind of like a little bit of a map that fits into the ice when you're building it up. You put it in there and then you continue building on. So instead of painting them all and things like that, it's actually a mesh that goes in and we're able to reuse it from again.
Nice.
So when we did that with the showcase as well, is that we bought those. So
they look nice.
Good.
Continue.
okay. So the second part of the report is my
Excuse me, can I ask a question?
Sure.
The $25,000 for protection of the advertising on the boards. I'm curious how much a year we actually get in advertising on the boards. Is that a figure somebody has?
So all of the advertising in the building, we're running in about the $50,000 to $60,000 range. The boards themselves, I think we're in and around the $25,000 to $30,000 range.
Thank you. If I could just comment on something that was just said in regards to the flag and the ice. If you check with the curling club, the circles that we have, we used to paint on, we don't anymore. They're that vinyl stuff with holes in it that you put down and then flood over. So very likely the same company would have other stuff as well.
That's excellent. Thank you, Councillor. Continue.
So Live Barn approached the town. It's a subscription-based service, and what they do is they install their own camera, and it is smart enough to call the players, that sort of thing. And then people that want to subscribe can actually watch or purchase a package that runs from $24.95 to $27.95 per month, and then can watch their loved ones, or if they have a wanting to watch a particular game, that sort of thing. So no cost to the town, and actually the town earns a little bit of commission on the total amount. And then we also have the ability to put in there which games would be watchable or viewable and which aren't, which are in blackout versus a privacy code, things like that. So we thought it was an interesting idea. A number of municipalities closer to us are kind of looking at the same options and going through that. So thought we'd bring it to council and see if there was a willingness or wanting to do so.
Did you have a question? Sorry.
Me too.
Yep, go ahead.
I'll just ask mine quick. Maybe yours is the same. Is that on 24/7 or just on to the?
Nope, so we would only, so we can set it as to when it's available and what it is. So basically, if the organization doesn't want that live streamed or being able to be available, then we can do that and put it in a blackout mode. If they want it to be only available to them or those that have a privacy code, then we can do that. So let's say the coach wants it and he or she just wants to view practice, but doesn't want any of the other parents or, live streaming of it, then they can set that as well. And, or, if Junior C wants to, have their games live, then they can do so. So it's really up to the organization, and by extension, the town, to set up, when it's live, when it's not live, that sort of thing. But no, we wouldn't have any, if it's not being rented, then there would be no live stream.
Councillor Burton?
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. On those lines, would we be offering a release form and maybe the organization would be saying, this might be streamed. Are you okay with your child being live streamed, or yes or no, or,
So we will absolutely work with them and make sure that all of those types of privacy concerns are covered.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Can I make a comment?
Sure.
What Leanne said is very pertinent there. I remember at the youth club a number of years ago, we had it was a situation. Somebody wanted to take some pictures for the newspaper, and we had to have releases on all the parents. So that is something that should be looked into. But actually, I think it's a great idea for grandparents that maybe winter in Florida or can't get out in the winter or don't care to from a distance, that they could actually watch their grandchildren playing, or even parents that can't make the trip. So I think it's a great idea.
There you go.
And just the final part of the report is the 24-25 ice season. So our original intention was to start sometime the week of the 15th, and Edwardsburg Cardinal, knowing that we were going to start at that point, felt that they would hold off until Labor Day. So we were contacted by a number of their regular renters, and are now pulling back to the 5th to be able to support all of those. So that means that in the second half of July, we'll start making ice again. And so we have a pretty short window to be able to get all the work done and get that finished. So it'll be a quick turnaround, and we'll move forward, but certainly, I think, that's working out fairly well so far. And the walking track will be available during normal rental hours from August 5th to October 14th, which is Thanksgiving. And then once Thanksgiving hits, usually town staff doesn't have to spend as much time in the parks and facilities anymore. And so we'll then have somebody in the building starting at 9 every morning.
Very good. Questions? Councillor Burton?
Yep, thank you. With the season being over shortly, would we be getting a financial report? How we did, like how many people rented the ice, how many people, unfortunately, we couldn't accommodate, how the canteen was. I've already spoken to Carl Ditchwheeler, who does the skate shop, and he was quite thrilled and excited for his very first year that it was very, very busy for him. And he's excited to come back and join us next year. It was really good turnout for him. But it'd be interesting to see how we did on a financial aspect of things, and go from there.
Councillor Kirkby?
Mr. Mayor Shankar. Matthew, the August 5th opening, what rates would they be at?
So that would be at the rates that we're currently charging. So the
spring / non-prime.
Exactly. So, and then plus 3%. So we looked at kind of what our rates were, and because we run from basically September through to March, whatever the spring is, then we thought 3% was a good number. That's exactly the same as Edwardsburg Cardinal's going up as well.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
No further questions? All right, I'm going to call the question, and the question was the council directs staff to proceed with the work outlined in staff report 31-2024. All in favor? Carried, thank you. All right, next one is the staff report 32-2024. It's the 2024 budget approval. from our CIO treasurer, Matthew Armstrong. I'm just going to read the recommendations. The council approved the 2024 operational budget with total revenues and expenditures of $11,469,786. And that council approved the 2024 water and wastewater budget with total revenues and expenditures of $3,209,405. And that council approved the final property tax payment for 2024 be due on August 30th, 2024. Second recommendation is that council direct staff to maintain the notice of objection to St. Lawrence Lodge for the 2024 budget to allow for additional time for the revenue allocations from the province to be received and their impact on the 2024 budget for the lodge is understood. And that staff be directed to pay the quarterly levy amount based on the 2023 levy until council directs otherwise. And that council requests that the St. Lawrence Lodge Board of Management undertake an operational review of St. Lawrence Lodge to be completed by November 30th, 2024, with the intended outcome to fully analyze the organization's financial issues and produce recommendations that will stabilize and result in sustainable future municipal levy increases. And that a copy of the above recommendations be sent to the city of Brockville, the town of Gananoque, and the United Counties of Leeds and Grenville. Can I have a mover and seconder for discussion? Councillor Lockett, Councillor Kirkby. Mr. Armstrong?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. So this is kind of a culmination of a number of months worth of work. We started back in November. We're done the vast majority of the work by the beginning of March. But we did put a pause on while we were trying to better understand St. Lawrence Lodge. And to give you an indication, so St. Lawrence Lodge, the increase from 2023 to 2024 was 8%. So going from 203,000 to 379,000. That is approximately 2.84% of our total increase that we're looking at this year. So, that's obviously a difficult number to work with, and certainly one that we weren't expecting. We did have a meeting with the four partnering municipalities, and a list of financial questions were sent on March 13th. A subset of those questions were sent on March 19th, and the operating agreement, the partners have to identify it by March 31st if they object to the budget or it's considered passed. So a formal issue or for a formal notice of objection was issued as we were still waiting on questions. We did receive, and just a few days before the meeting, and then had a meeting on April 22nd with St. Lawrence Lodge and the various partners. There's obviously significant cost pressures, but at the same time, I think there's a number of issues that need to be addressed to start to respond to those issues, as well as decrease the overall cost structure by not having to use contracted services, not having to use as much overtime, increasing the attendance at work, and perhaps looking at their contracting out decisions to make sure that when you're bringing work in-house, that it's not costing more than it would have doing it outside. So there's just a number of things that were left unanswered, and so that's where the recommendation is to develop to wait until they receive their revenue amounts from the government. They're funded April to March, as opposed to the calendar year. And so they wait on the provincial budget to understand what that looks like. And then several weeks after that, they receive their actual allocations for the 24-25 year. So we're still in that waiting period. And certainly, they've assured us that they've taken a conservative approach to those estimates, but we would certainly hope if that's the case, then that increase being required should come down. Also, at the same time, to ensure that we continue to get some answers, making the recommendation that we would pay the quarterly amounts based on last year's as opposed to the new quarterly amount until the budget has been accepted by the town of Prescott. And then finally, the recommendation to undertake a formal operational review by a third party to address their issues. We made the point last year when it went up by 11% that we needed a lot more information as well as notification before significant increases come along. And this year we ended up with an 86% with no forewarning or additional information. So that's kind of where we are with St. Lawrence Lodge at the moment. I don't think holding off on our budget is going to really be beneficial because we're probably several more weeks, if not months, out before we get some final answers. And but that being said, we are including in the budget that increase is in there. So when and if the council, the town of Prescott, approves that, then we would make those additional payments.
Question? Councillor Kirkby?
Through you, Mayor Shankar. The 175,517, that's the increase just to the town, just to be clear, not to all four.
No, the city of Rockville was over $1 million increase.
Right. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of that. Thank you.
But just on a couple of other notes, so right now we're sitting at a municipal property tax increase of 4.76%. That's inclusive of the 1% dedicated to infrastructure. And when you take the fact that the education tax isn't changing, then for the overall tax rate, it's increasing by 4.12%. That breaks down to over half being St. Lawrence Lodge, 1% dedicated to infrastructure, and inflationary pressures is really everything that's left over. And that came in at less than 1%.
Which I think is amazing. We have that. Councillor Campbell.
Through you, Mayor Shankar. So just again, so I can understand this, the 175,517 to St. Lawrence Lodge is the 2023.
No, so the 175,517 to St. Lawrence Lodge is the increase between 23 and 24. If we accept their budget as is, then our total payment to them is 379,200 just for operational. Because we also support another payment of 240,000 on top of that. 308.
On top of the 380. Right.
Sorry, I don't get it. So our tax increase is accepting the fact that we might have to pay them the 86% increase. So if we don't, then what happens?
Then what we would do is anything that we wouldn't pay, we can put into a reserve and council can decide how they wish to do that. It might be a good idea to hold that for the 2025 increase for St. Lawrence Lodge. But I'm not actually really holding my breath on that it's going to change.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Sorry,
Councillor Kirkby.
Through you, Mayor Shankar. What is the main drivers that they're flagging for the 175,517?
That's the question we've asked since November.
I mean,
so there's a couple of things. One is that they're required to meet a certain number of hours, and it's an increased number of nursing hours as well as an increased number of support hours. And so they're saying that, you know, obviously that's had a big impact. Also, salary increases in relation to inflation is a big impact. And they admit that they've been running short the last couple of years. And so this budget assumes that they return to full or very few vacancies in terms of staffing.
So when they say the wages have gone up, salaries, are we talking management, nurses, union staff?
They're talking about unionized staff, and that being covering everything from administration to nursing to support staff.
I know that some nurses are actually leaving the system and working for agencies at a higher rate. Hey, is that something that's going on at St. Lawrence Lodge?
What they're finding is that they need to contact those agencies to fill the gaps in their staffing. And they're about 100% more expensive than having an in-house individual, an in-house employee. So they're trying to bridge the gap, maintain safe operations, and they're forced to end up using contracted services, which are exceedingly more expensive.
Absolutely. Is there any indication that the province is going to provide more funding per patient or per resident?
It was interesting. The budget was fairly silent on that provincial budget. We expected there to be something in there. It was very quiet in relation to long-term care, other than they were opening another call for bed redevelopment and expansion. So and that's why we suggest waiting to really understand what those numbers look like, because we don't have a good feeling from the budget or anything else as to that they're going to be on the high side or the low side.
Because we're seeing a lot of bed increase, i.e. out in Athens, right? At Sherwood, right? But what I haven't seen scouring through is how are we going to compensate for these kind of budget numbers, towns, municipalities that have to take this on, right? Is there an increase to the residents? That's a cap pretty much also, is it not?
That's capped at the province.
Right.
So the province decides how much you can charge a patient, which is called the copay. They decide how much to fund a municipal or fund all homes. It's up to the board to decide how they're going to construct their budget. And in for-profit or non-profit homes that aren't attached to a municipality, they have to make ends meet. It's an easy out for municipal homes to just add it to municipalities that are the partners.
So the capacity at the St. Lawrence Lodge, would it be it's at full or close to?
My understanding is that they're running close to full occupancy. They might be a little bit under.
And
Not for long. Like, doesn't last long if they are under, I think.
and then residents of the St. Lawrence Lodge would all be from the 4 municipalities. What I'm getting at there is if we're accepting from other municipalities that don't pay into this, even though the province pays their spot, should we not be getting a higher rate for them residents?
The 4th municipality is United Counties. That's everybody else, right?
But if you come from Kingston per se.
That's a slippery slope where somebody from Prescott decides to go up to Toronto and attach to a municipal home that has a far higher municipal levy, potentially, and then we'd be on the hook for that. So it's definitely a catch-22.
I mean, it's obvious it can't continue how it is, right? It's obvious also that we're getting to that population of age where there's going to be the need for more beds and more nurses. And, the 175 seems bad as it's a high number, right? But you need the staff there to run these organizations, right? I mean, that's the really of it.
Yeah, but it's not, I don't think it's 86% increase isn't only staff wages.
Well, then that's what I'm asking, right? I guess like what?
That's what we're asking too.
Right. Are we adding new TVs or are we adding more programs?
Laundry,
Have you
it's
bought
diet.
groceries lately?
I have, yep.
They're feeding a shitload of people there. Everything's gone up. Cost of heat, cost of groceries, obviously the cost of wages. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to butt in there, but the groceries, the groceries.
I mean, and I agree with Lee. I guess my point is we really need the higher levels of government to step in and add more funding to these facilities. They can't put it onto the municipalities' backs, like Prescott, that just doesn't have the capacity. We're at our seams to begin with, right? So that's kind of my point. We know we're getting there. We know that because the province is actively building more beds to accommodate more people. Yet doesn't seem like they're paying attention to the cost of running the current facilities. I guess that's my point. And we're powerless in a sense.
Well, I mean, this is our only alternative at this point.
Right. Yep.
To say, we're not paying it.
Yep.
Until you tell us why. And,
Right.
you know, we're using the government funding idea to give them time, but we have to take a stand at some point. They come back next year at another 100% on top of that. And we paid it this year. They'll just expect us to pay it again next year.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm just trying to understand why we're in this predicament or why they're in this predicament, I think. And that's what this undertaking, the review will hopefully tell us, I think.
Hopefully, yeah. Matthew, did you want to talk about, payment options? Or did you have a question, Lee?
Well, I wouldn't mind weighing in on this a little bit. I was on the board for 8 years and I've seen a lot of what goes on with the board, and they're in a tough spot as well. At least I know they were when I was there, because as Matthew has said, there's certain things that they have to provide according to the ministry. They have to provide a certain number of hours per resident. They have to provide a certain quality of food. They have to provide certain diets for certain people. And with the number of people that are in there and the condition that a lot of them are in, there's an awful lot of specialty diets. They also tell you as a board that you cannot give your employees any more than 2% a raise for a year for a union staff. And of course, the union won't accept that, so they just immediately go to arbitration. And the arbitrators are appointed by the Ontario government, and the arbitrators award them 3%. That doesn't make any sense at all. But that extra percent, since the negotiations have been going on for a year, amounts to around $1 million. This has happened before. And there goes the backup money that they had for other things. What we tend to forget is how bad the people in those homes, not just St. Lawrence Lodge, but all the way around, had it during COVID. And they had it because of the lack of employees that they had to look after. People were booking off sick, and they were sick. They couldn't come in because they were sick. And the farther away we get from COVID, the more we tend to forget that. We have to look after our older people, and some of us around the table are getting there now, not to mention any names, you understand. But it's a terrible thing, that kind of an increase. And Matthew again was right. It's easy just to kick it down the road, and the only place it can go down the road is to the municipalities, because we are the ones that built the thing, but we have to go by the provincial regulations. So a little better communication, a little better cooperation with the federal government as far as healthcare goes would go a long way. But it's not just this government. It was the Liberal government before that. People just don't like to spend money on homes, and they got away with it for years until COVID brought it right into the fore. And I think now is when they're trying to play catch up with it. But it's unfortunate that they didn't do something a little more in their budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Matthew?
So the final part of the report is talking about the timing of property tax payments. So prior to COVID, there was 3 payments. The interim payment was due on February 28th, and that was 50% of the prior year's taxes. The final payment was always split into 2, one at July 31st, one at August 31st, and it was just 50% of the final amount. When COVID happened, we kind of spaced it out a little bit, being March 31st, and then so from February to March, and then spacing out the final one to August and October 31st. That's been a stretch, in particular for the final payment for the town, of being able to run the cash flow. Vast majority of our costs are throughout the summer and spring, and then it tends to die down a little bit in the fall. So we've been funding that until August and October, and it's taken its toll on the cash flow. So we developed 2 options based on what other municipalities were doing in this area. And first option, which is the one in the recommendation, is the interim stays at March 31st, and the final payment moves to one final payment at August 31st. The other option would be to the interim payment again at March 31st and return back to the July 31st, and then move the second, if you want to go with 2 payments, to September 30th. So really it's kind of a little bit of trying to massage what we used to have along with what we had, what other municipalities are doing. And those are the 2 options that we came up with. But more than happy to answer. I also include a table of what each of the other municipalities are currently doing in terms of payment timing, just for information and understanding.
Okay, thank you. Any questions about the budget? Councillor Young?
Thank you, Matthew, is it possible, I guess for next year, to look into possibly like a pre-authorized payment schedule for some of the residents that, I know some people pay through their mortgage, so they're having it taken off monthly or bi-weekly or whatever, but is it possible maybe that the town could offer a pre-authorized monthly that might help people budget a little bit better?
Sure.
Just a suggestion.
We can do that. The one thing that a lot of people don't realize is that you're actually prepaying. So by the time you hit that March date that you've paid your 6 payments previous to that. So it's not the other way where it's that you get an extension of it. So, and some people do that on their own. They send us regular payments by the due date. It's all been paid up, and then they start their process again. But more than happy to institute that if council wishes.
Councillor Campbell?
Would it make a big difference for option 1, through you, Mayor Schenker, sorry, to Matthew, to have the final be September 30th? Would that be a big difference?
Yes, because the vast majority of our costs are in the summer, then it's really going to put us strained for the month of September in particular.
All right, thanks.
Any other questions? All right. Does anyone need me to read the recommendations again? I read them already. Since we had our discussion, seeing no other questions, I'll call the question. All in favor? Against?
Sorry. Can I just, are we voting for option 1 or option 2 in that as well?
We were voting for both. You want to do them separately?
Okay.
I didn't need you to read the whole thing, but I think there are 2 options in here that we have to.
Yeah.
Am I correct?
So through you, Mayor Schenker, it's actually a 2-part motion. It's all one recommendation. So we have a mover and a seconder on that recommendation. So it's the recommendation as was presented. It's 2 parts.
2 parts to one recommendation.
So it wasn't 2 separate recommendations. It's all one recommendation, like an A and a B portion.
Okay, and in that recommendation, we're going for option one, okay, sorry, okay. Thank you.
Okay. All in favor? Anyone? Carry, thank you. All right, 12.3 is staff report 33-2024, the clock tower parking lot, entrance and exits from our CAO treasurer, Armstrong. Recommendation reads that council directs staff to install the necessary signage to make the northeastern entrance / exit to the clock tower parking lot on Center Street and entrance only. Mover and seconder for discussion. Councillor Kirkby, Councillor Young. Matthew?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. So this is a great example where Councillor Young called me one morning and she said, I'd like to discuss something. And I said, by all means. So she explained it very well to me, I hope. And basically when you're turning onto Center Street from King Street, and particularly when you're traveling east, and so you're coming right beside the clock tower itself, you make that right-hand corner and you can't see somebody coming out of the clock tower parking lot from that first entrance exit. So there's only about 35 feet between the corner and the first entrance. So you really need to make kind of invasive maneuvers, and especially if that person decided to travel north on Center Street to turn onto King or to continue on Center, where if someone's already at the stoplight, then they have a very short kind of road to be able to get into that far lane. And often their back end of the car is sticking out into the southbound lane. So what we came up with was perhaps making that an entrance only, so people would go in that way, but they can still exit and enter from all of the other two areas. The one on Water Street and the one further south on Center Street. And figured that might be a good way to address the risk and the concern and improve the overall maneuverability down there. So we see it as simple, putting an entrance only sign on one side, a exit only sign on the other side, and an arrow that points inwards. And just hopefully people would pay attention and go forward from there.
Cross your fingers. Councillor Lockett and then Councillor Kirkby.
Yeah, I had a question actually, Matthew, from some people that have asked me, why is the exit onto King Street blocked off to begin with?
Mm-hmm. So that was a decision of council I want to say 4 or 5 years ago. And it was actually a concern about people driving or turning off of King Street into the parking lot and it crossing the entrance to Shoppers for the pedestrians. So pedestrians were coming out, car comes in, and both are startled. And so that's why the decision was made to actually block an entrance.
Yeah.
I asked that same question a while ago.
Yeah.
I don't know how we made it 40 years.
No, I know. I mean, there was a lot more grocery traffic in there than there is, I think, with Shoppers. And so people are saying, you know, it seems kind of silly that it's blocked off to begin with.
Yeah, council wishes to revisit it. We're happy to do so. I know that it was a concern for shoppers themselves that Shoppers Drug Mart, that they said, you know, we have near misses on a regular basis, and that was a possible solution.
Councillor Kirkby?
I actually was going to move the motion because I just think easy, let's get her done. But just on that parking block, right? I did ask that question. It's become the new handicap spot parking. Correct. Yeah. Which is just as, you know, can be just as dangerous.
We're fixing it up this summer, right, Dana?
Yes, with the new mural.
Yeah.
We do have plans to beautify that area with some plantings and a mural.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? All in favor? Carried, thank you.
So here's some feedback from Councillor Young. I'm going to put her on the spot. How painful was that?
That was not painful at all. It's better than me getting in a car accident.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good point, is that anytime you see something like that, just bring it up. And I think you brought it up about 3 or 4 weeks ago and kind of figured out how we can do it, kind of talk with staff, and then we're able to develop a solution. So.
Good stuff, Counselor Young. All right, moving on. Item 12.4 is staff report 34-2024. South Granville Police Services Board from our CA Treasurer Matthew Armstrong. The recommendation is that council appoint the mayor to represent the town of Prescott on the South Granville County Detachment Board, and that an ad hoc South Granville Police Services Selection Committee be formed, consisting of one appointed member from each respective partner municipality, with a clear mandate to review and recommend community member applications to the participating councils. Mover and seconder for discussion, please. Councilor Burton, Councilor Young. Matthew, it's all yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. So this, I have to admit, I did not write the vast majority of this report. That was done by Prescott. And I believe a very similar report is also going to Prescott Cardinal. So back in 2019, there was a change to the Ontario Police Services Act. As part of that, in 2020, they decided that OPP-related boards should be amalgamated, and they also eliminated the fact that some municipalities didn't have a police services board because they didn't have a particular kind of contract, and therefore they didn't have really representation over the police services. So they amalgamated all of those kind of concepts together, and in 2022, there was a joint submission for the what we're going to call North Granville, South Granville detachment boards, and the North Granville one being Merrickville, Wolford, North Granville coming together, and then the South Granville one being Augusta, Prescott, and Prescott Cardinal. So that has finally been accepted and came into force as of April 1st. And now we're trying to move forward with creating that combined board. So one of the items is to establish an ad hoc committee as well as council representatives. And to match what Augusta is doing, they have put forward their mayor as being that appointee. And so we're likewise also putting forward Mayor Shankar. And then that ad hoc committee will be responsible for advertising for 3 members to be appointed to the board. And then 2 members are appointed from the province. So we currently have a provincial appointee, but their mandate runs out, I believe, in July. So we'll be looking to the province to determine exactly who to appoint. But we need to get moving on our appointees for the other 3. So it outlines exactly kind of how that would work. You know, there's quite a bit of background information in there, that sort of thing, but more than happy to answer any questions that might be.
Thank you, Mr. Armstrong. Any questions for Mr. Armstrong?
I have one.
Councilor McConnell, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Shankar. Is there any determination of where these new committee meetings are going to be held? I know right now we have them here in our own building, but obviously the mayor and somebody else are going to have to commute. Are they going to rotate, or are they going to get the police station, or do we know?
I don't think we truly know yet, but there would be a municipality that will take an administrative lead on a rotating basis. And so I would also expect us to basically also rotate where the location of those meetings are. So that way it's fair for everyone. I think we're only looking at perhaps having 4 per year. So that might mean the administrative municipality does it twice, and then you know, the other 2 each get a meeting. So that's really to be determined, but I don't think it will be all that onerous given the number of meetings per year.
Thank you.
All right. I'm going to call the question then. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, that's it for staff reports. There's no resolutions tonight. There's one bylaw. It's a bylaw to establish a public highway. A recommendation that reads that bylaw 16-2024 being a bylaw to establish and dedicate part of Alexander Crescent as a public highway be read and passed, signed by the mayor and clerk, and sealed by the seal of corporation. Can I have a mover and seconder? Moved by Councillor Lockett, second by Councillor Kirkby. Can you just give us a little, yes, please, thank you.
So when Alexander Crescent was extended, and I believe this dates back to around 2012, to build a couple of additional houses, there was a transfer between the school board, the municipality, and what was eventually the developer for that. When we went back and it just recently somebody called as they were selling one of those houses that when they were doing the title search, they couldn't find that portion was on a public road. So we went back, took a look. In fact, a bylaw was never passed to designate that particular portion as a public road. And so really this is designed to do that.
Very good. Any other questions? All in favor? Carried, thank you. We have a bylaw amendment appointing a building inspector. A recommendation that reads a bylaw 17-2024 being a bylaw to amend bylaw 26-2019. A bylaw to appoint building inspectors for the corporation of the town of Prescott, contracted and casual. Be read and passed, signed by the mayor and clerk and sealed by the seal of the corporation. Mover and seconder. Councillor Burton, Councillor Campbell. Matthew, you want to speak on that?
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. So what you have before you is with the unexpected loss of the chief building official in Edwardsburg Cardinal. Sean Merriman has been working with them to help them out, to help us make sure that we keep up on our inspections. We're adding their building inspector to our list of eligible individuals or approved individuals that are allowed to do those services for the town of Prescott. And so really that's what this bylaw is putting in place.
Very good. Any questions on that? All in favor? Carried, thank you. No new business, no notices of motions, no mayor's proclamations. Veronica, do you have any questions?
Not at this time.
Thank you. So item 19 is closed session. The recommended motion reads that council move into closed session at 7:43 to discuss matters pertaining to closed session minutes and identifiable individual community awards and a purchase and sale matter. Proposed or pending acquisition of disposition of land by the municipality or local board, and that the CAO, treasurer, clerk, economic development officer remain in the room. Can I move her and seconder? Councillor Kirkby, Councillor Lockett. All in favor? Discussion.
Abracadabra.